Minecraft's music is incredibly iconic. But what if we turn it off? What are we left with? Not much. Hi, I'm Samuel, and with your permission, I'd like to talk about Minecraft's ambient sound design. But before we begin, let's define ambient sound design in general. A powerful ambient soundscape creates a mental image of what an environment sounds like, reflecting the space the player is able to explore through the audio. Now, this might be as simple as the hustle and bustle of the street outside an apartment window, or even the rushing water of a nearby river in a forest. This creates a uniform experience for the player, where what they see and hear match each other. The two senses working in conjunction with one another to create a more believable play space. Now, Minecraft has historically had a few examples of ambient sound, the most famous of which being the eerie cave noises. But the example I'd like to talk about today comes from the latest update to the game, the Spring to Life content drop. This update completely changed the way the desert biome sounds, adding a whole new ambient soundscape. Take a listen. In previous versions of Minecraft, the desert was a graveyard of sound, made up of mostly the player's footsteps or the few animals who live in this biome. But now, the space is alive. Closing your eyes and focusing on the sound alone, you can easily make out the roar of wind through the sand dunes, scattering grains of sand everywhere, or the rustle of a creature hidden just out of sight. This ambient sound design paints an imaginative mental image of a dangerous desert, full of harsh conditions and deadly creatures. But it's when you open your eyes and look at the visuals that a jarring juxtaposition is created. The visuals of Minecraft, particularly in the desert biome, do not match the world that the ambient sound design is establishing. As I outlined earlier, the job of the sound design, particularly ambient sound, should be to work in tandem with the visuals to create a believable world. While these sounds might suggest a living, breathing world, the visuals reflect a static world, with no wind movement and no indication of a threat from any hidden creatures. This is disappointing. Not because the addition of an ambient soundscape is bad, not by any means, but rather that they didn't also update the visuals to match the new sounds. Imagine if there were small little particles of sand being blown about by gusts of wind, or little scorpions and snakes scurrying about throughout the sand. These tiny visual additions would take the ambience of this space from jarring to alive and cohesive. Now, of course, there is always the argument for mods to add these things. Community support is wonderful for Minecraft. But if the development team are taking the time to add in this new form of ambient sound, they need to consider the visuals as well. But who knows? Maybe a future update will bring an update to the graphics to match these new changes to the sound design. What do you think? Does the sound create a juxtaposition with the graphics here, or does it work successfully? Let's take a quick look at another piece of ambient sound design added in the update, Fireflies. Now, these are a small touch in comparison to the overhaul of the soundscape in the desert, but they're no less important. A good piece of ambient sound adds subtly to the environment, making small changes that are not always immediately noticeable, but making big differences in constructing a more believable space. Highlighted like this in a video discussing sound design, the Fireflies are incredibly noticeable. But thought about as a single instrument in the orchestra that makes up the sound design of Minecraft, Fireflies are a wonderful addition to the game. That's all the examples I wanted to talk about today. What do you think about the ambient sound design in Minecraft? Leave a comment with your thoughts below, and thanks for watching!